Welcome to Tekedia Institute. I'm Dubisi Ekekwe. A conversation today will focus on the grand unification, cell for biology, binary for computing, and accounting for business. Essentially, I am trying to actually recruit many college students to begin to like accounting because I have understood that a fundamental unit of business is basically accounting. If you do not make sense of accounting, if you do not understand the rudiments of bookkeeping, ascension to managerial leadership, ascension to your career will actually not really be the way you want it. In other words, the language of business is accounting. The fundamental element that actually governs everything that we do in market system comes down to accounting. So if we have this mindset that we need to understand what they do in the accounting profession, we're not necessarily asking you to become an accountant. We're just saying that you need to have the capacity to make sense of certain things. Because when everything is settled, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a doctor, whatever you do, there is one document that institution needs to look at to see if the mission that organization was started was still on track. And that mission is you want to fix a market friction, but you also need to figure out how that process is going. So let me take you back to my secondary school days. I had a very good one in Secondary Technical School of It. I recall that moment, the very first time I wore trousers, the long pants, to secondary school. As I was walking out of the family home, my grandmother called to say, "Hey, you are wearing the long one." I was now going to be a senior that day. Just the last term, I was a junior. But we have passed the junior secondary school examination. And the implication there is when you have succeeded in the junior class, you are not going to be promoted into the senior one. So that there are warmer trousers. And I waved by, went to school. My teacher, Mr. Aham, came to class. He was trying to introduce us to the fundamental element of natural philosophy, focusing on physics in that particular day. And he explained to us that before the end of the 18th century, that the material component of the universe was studied as one aspect of culture called natural philosophy. But he explained that as time went on, nature was divided into two broad categories called the biological and the physical science. And that biological science, you're talking about botany and zoology, talking about basically biology, botany and zoology. So divided into really two broad categories: the study of life, the study of animals, and the study of plants. So he's talking about zoology, you're talking about botany. If you go deeper, you see that the fundamental unit of life is cell. And from that cell, we have systems. You can have human beings, broadly divided into two elements. You have the female and the male, and you have human systems. It was a very, very fascinating experience. Then later on, I graduated from secondary school and I went to the university at Federal University of Technology, Owerri. A philosophy class professor came in, Professor Shebu, and tried to introduce us to the great debates that the Greek philosophers had many centuries ago. We were trying to ask this question: what is the fundamental unit of the universe? What is this world made up of? Fascinating. It was no more about the biology. It was not talking about the universe. And Greek philosophers has postulated. He said that day that Pythagoras said that the world made up of nothing but numbers. The fundamental unit of universe is nothing but number. And of course, because of numbers, the world has been built around computation, understanding how to make sense of a universe by making sense of how we compute, process, manipulate, and advance number system. Today, we talk about data. That data is the number. And the most fundamental in the world of computing is nothing. The binary. The binary is what gives you the zeros and ones. These are the fundamental units of information age. The ones and zeros power the computational models that we use in our computers, driving efficiency in the utilization of factors of production, making it possible that we can process anything that we can process using machines. So you have these numbers. You have the binary number that is very common. You have the ones and zeros. And out of those ones and zeros, you build the IT organization. They all connected back to that physical science of natural philosophy. The physics, the study of matter with relationship to energy. Chemistry, the study of substances and properties. And connecting into that beautiful science of numbers called mathematics. That is. So you can see the state. Elements, male, female, ones and zeros. Now, let's go right now to why we are making this video. We're talking about business and commerce. I tell you that the basic unit of business is accounting. Some people can go with bookkeeping. And if you go into bookkeeping, from Luca Paciolo's 15th century understanding, where he laid down the fundamental unit of that bookkeeping, you have what we call the double entry. The double entry basically has what we call the debit and the credit. Those are the elements. And from out that debit and credit, you can have institutionalized organization, because there are critical things organizations must have. They have to have ability to have processes and systems and make it possible that you can actually track the debit, the credit, and have a little bit of control. And when you do that, you have an institutionalized organization. You can now look at it this way. That institutionalized organization, that accounting, let's say that we have accounting plus. You're no more just looking at accounting for money. You're also looking at accounting for other things you do in companies. So you now see the people coming out of that natural philosophy, biological science, tools coming out from that physical science of computational models. And then you have the processes. When you bring these three things in fusion, you have great companies. You cannot have a great company without having that accounting. What is really accounting? In my MBA and also in my elementary phase of trying to become a chartered accountant while in banking in Lagos, you have what we call assets. Asset is nothing but all those things you have in order for you to go into that production process, where you have identified a market friction and you are mobilizing factors of production, mobilizing resources to fix those friction by creating products and services. And then assets is equals to liability of equity. Liabilities are now the things that you have got to pick up from people, loans and things, those are liabilities. Then equity are things you are bringing. When you add those two together, you have assets. Now, you are now also having two other things, revenue and cost. You want to understand from these assets you have, how efficiently have you deployed that asset in order for you to now create what they call profit, what they call loss, what they call opportunities in the market. So from that revenue and costs, you're now looking at how those assets have been efficiently used. Use the asset to boost, to drive, to create products and services, do everything you have to do to fix the frictions of the customers, and the customers reward you by fixing their friction through what we call revenue. When you go to a restaurant and pay somebody money because that person has served you food, you are helping that person accumulate revenue. The revenue is the compensation you have given that individual because of the friction that individual has actually fixed for you. So that revenue is the compensation. But that person has exerted a lot of cost elements, paid staff, bought vegetables, bought egusi, and made amala, nkwobi, nzobo. And at the end of the day, there is a product that is a cost element. The delta of that revenue and cost, what we call profit or loss, depending on the one that is better. And as you do that, you're going to like these three documents. The balance sheet. How is that asset balancing with the liability and equity? They have to balance, unless if you're a magician. And how, at the end of the day, that asset helping you to create value. You're now looking at you making money. That's profit or loss. Because you want to make sure that you're making money so that that business will remain a going concern. But there's also one other report we call the cash flow statement. This one is the one that makes it possible. You don't just wake up one morning and you run out of cash. Have you ever remembered that uncle, that village kingsman who used to be a very rich guy in Oshobo, Kanu, Aba? And then one afternoon, he carried his bag to the village. What happened? He ran out of cash. He used to stock money inside a cupboard. He used to put money inside a bag. But one day he put in his money, he could not get any money out. He did not manage his cash flow. He didn't know that even though he was dipping his hand, pulling money out of that bag or that cupboard or that locker, that not much money was going in. And because of that, he ran out of cash. And when he ran out of cash, he could not pay for new raw materials. He could not get into the production process. Maybe he was an upholstery maker. Maybe he was a carpenter or whatever he was. He just realized that business has ended. If you don't have a very clear visibility on your cash flow, one afternoon, your business can just die. Balance sheet is a snapshot of the state of your business at any point in time. The income statement, or what they call profit and loss, gives you an understanding quarterly, 6 months, 1 year, where the profitability or the loss of that business stands. Gentlemen and ladies, I want you to understand the beauty of accounting. It is the fundamental unit of business. If you can't make sense of accounting, you are going to be a follow to people in the world of commerce and industry. The leaders, the strategic leaders in organization, there is one thing they do. They look at the statements and make strategic business decisions. Whether you're an engineer, whatever you do, at Tekedia Institute, we want everyone to understand how to read, how to make sense, and how to connect to that biological analogous unit of business accounting. We got great faculty members with CFA chartered holding and ICANN certified chartered accountants. These are professionals, the top, the elite, the zeniths in their professions. They have got great courses for you. And I invite you as a lead faculty of Tekedia Institute, come to Tekedia Institute and become a Grand Master of business because you understand the fundamental unit of business, the debit and credit, encapsulated in reports. Tekedia Institute. We are waiting. Thank you.